Yep. And here we are, 40 years, something years later, back in the same old neighborhood. Yep. There's a new house there. They must have just built that recently. That was never there before. Nobody could ever build over here because it was wet. The ground was too wet. Yep. It's a nice big old house. And we have a lot of nice big trees. And we're going to take a look at the house that I grew up in. Yep. When we were kids, we lived here. And there was only one kid to play with next door. Yep. Only had one kid in the neighborhood. And all he did was play basketball. You cold?
No.
Yeah, look at them. Look at them freezing because they're dressed like it's summer. Check out this house. This was my favorite old spooky house back when it was looked like a spooky house. Yep.
Anyone live
Yep.
there?
Yep.
Wow.
That used to be Dave Canning. He was an old man from Scotland. No, really. He was an old blind dude. He was like 86 years old, and he was blind. We used to bring him his mail, and we were always really intrigued with this house because back in those days, back in the late 60s, that house was it was all faded and gray and really scary looking, and he lived there all by himself. And over here's another place we used to hang out. I don't know what the deal is. This was where my friend Ron Sherman lived, wherever he may be. This was, you can't see it here, but he used to live in this house right over here, but they added on to it, made it a lot bigger. Yeah, that was Ron's house right there. But the interesting thing is, he used to live over here. There used to be an old spooky house over here too. They tore it down. But this was all woods. This was all nothing here. Looks like they cleared it out. And I'll bet you his basketball hoop is still in this tree. He used to play basketball out here. Every day you'd hear him out here playing basketball. Yep. And I'll bet you the hoop is still there. Let's see. Let's take a look. Well, maybe it fell off. It used to be right there. He'd be out here playing basketball. And the old house used to be right here. It was right there. It was a big old white house with green trim. And they tore it down one day. Yep. So, looks like they cleared it out. This is a new street. This was never here before. It's a dead end. Some rich person's got a huge mansion down there. And here's the house that we used to live in. We grew up here. Looks like they added on to it a little bit. Yep. This was my yard. I cleared all that out there when I was a kid. All this stuff, we cleared it all out by hand. Because we wanted more room to play when we were kids. The only thing we couldn't do much with was this stone wall. It was always heavy rocks and poison ivy, so we couldn't do anything with it. But anyway, this is the house I grew up in. We lived here I lived here, we moved here in November of 1967, and then I moved out, I guess in the, late 70s to go to Flaaaarida. And see these trees right here?
Oh, I remember.
See that tree? And that tree there? My grandmother planted those.
Wow.
Yep. She planted them. She planted those trees back in 1971. I remember it. She came down with these they were little dinky little trees. And she stuck them in the ground and said, "You watch them, in a few years they'll be big as these other trees." And sure enough, you know. And we'll go up here and look at the holes in the road because they haven't paved it. And there's another farmhouse over there. And then another new house there. And it just goes on and on. You know, we'll head back. Okay, we're gonna go back this way. Yeah, the old shed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the old shed. Yep. Yeah, they did a nice job. They made a nice house out of it. I wouldn't mind living here again, but I don't think I'd want to live in that house.
They wore that red too.
You know what's really cool is there's a path that goes down there to the water. And there's, we used to go jump in a boat and go onto the pond down there. We don't know whose boat it was. A boat that was upside down. We just took off in it, in a canoe.
Canoe?
Yep.
Dead end.
Dead. The old house used to be there. One day we came home from school, and there was a big crane there and a big pile of rubble. They munched up the house. It was gone. But that was where Ron lived. He lived right in that house. Used to be there. And then he moved over there. But that used to be a tiny little house.
Far.
Yep.
I don't even recognize it.
No, it's all different. Yeah, this tree is like huge.